these were very childish adults. Anyway, so my best friend, who we're gonna call Allie, she was the one who introduced me to these people. And I met her back whenever I was in 8th grade, thinking she was my age. But fun fact, turns out she was 16 and she got held back 2 years. But that's besides the point. Eventually, every day after school, her and I were going to these 2 guys' house who both lived together. One's name was Drake, who was 22 years old, and then the other one's name was Evan. And Allie has been dating Evan since she was 14, which is super weird because he's 21, so that means that he was 19 whenever they started dating, which actually isn't as bad as some of the other relationships I've seen. Like, there was this one girl who was dating a 24-year-old. She was 14. Yeah. I just don't even know how this started happening with younger girls dating basically grown men. But this was normal in my neighborhood. Normal. Anyway, so like I said, we would go over there every day after school. Sometimes we would even skip school and just stay there the whole day. We would usually hang out till about 1 in the morning. And on weekends, they would always throw parties at their house. Their house was like the party spot for all of middle school, high school kids, other adults who were still only drinking and smoking weed. We really didn't mess with any of that other stuff. Some kids got into that, but mainly these parties were for those kids. Anyway, so whenever they would have these parties, we would spend the night. And here's the thing, my parents knew that I was hanging out with older people, older guys, but they really didn't care, to be honest, which probably isn't a surprise to you guys at this point. They actually said that it made them feel better because I had an adult looking after me and making sure that I was safe all the time. Little did they know. Never mind, they also just said, don't get pregnant, you know. Like, literally at the age of 13, they told me, yeah, if you ever need condoms, a plan B, alcohol, weed, just let us know. Just come to us, okay? Or anything like that, just ask. And pay for it, of course. Anyways, so Drake was always super nice to me. He would walk me home, and anytime that I would have homework, he would literally sit at the kitchen table and help me with it. He would buy me food. He was actually a really good guy, which was more than I could say for Allie's boyfriend. Okay, because her boyfriend, aka Evan, was a dick. Yes, he was. He would literally make her walk home by herself between like 1 and 3 in the morning when she literally lived all the way on the other side of the trailer park, which was literally a 15-minute walk. Half of the street lamps didn't work either, so there's that. If she was staying over there for a while, she would get hungry and he would tell her that she would either have to go and buy her own food or go to her house and get some food because he didn't want her eating his food. Also, he got her pregnant 3 times and pretty much manipulated her into getting an abortion each time. I mean, the second and third time she really wanted to keep it because I guess after Allie's mom had her, she wasn't able to have children after that, which in all honesty was a good thing because Allie's mom was really fucked up in the head. But anyways, she was worried that she wouldn't be able to have kids after having all these abortions. But the last 2 times he said that if she kept it, he wasn't gonna stay with her and he would never talk to her again. And low-key, Allie had really bad daddy issues because her dad left whenever she was younger, so she did not take well to that at all. So yeah, her boyfriend was a literal scumbag. Literally a freaking scumbag. But everyone would always say that Drake and I should date because of how good he was to me, and to be honest, he was really, really good to me, like better than any man has ever treated me in my life. Like, he was comparable to my grandma, except he was a man who was like 8 years older than me. We're just gonna leave it there, okay? Okay. So anyways, I want to say whenever I was 15, he asked me out and it was super sweet. He came to my house with flowers and chocolates and a ticket to the movies. And our relationship was really good for a while, to be honest. He would drive me to school every day. We would go on road trips together. And my parents were fine with all of this, actually. They even let me go out of state with him. We literally went on a trip to Florida. We went to New York for a few days and stayed with his second cousins. And almost every day he would tell me that as soon as I turned 18, he wanted to marry me. He was gonna put a ring on it, and that he's also been saving up ever since he met me. The one thing that was honestly bad in our relationship was the fact that he literally smoked 24/7. Well, no, smoked and drank 24/7, which would really suck because when we would go and do these things, like go on dates and stuff like that, he would either have to be high or drunk to have a good time. And literally him and I had so many freaking arguments about this shit. Like it was like beating a dead horse. Eventually he started getting fed up with me arguing with him. So anytime we would go on dates, he wouldn't smoke and he wouldn't drink, but he would only last like that for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half if I was lucky. And if I let it hit an hour and a half, he was cranky, very irritable, just literally ready to stab everyone. Also, he started letting Evan talk to me however he wanted to. Like whenever Drake and I weren't dating, he would stick up for me 24/7. He wouldn't let anybody say one thing to me. And if you tried to say anything to me, you had a busted lip. But after we started dating, I don't know where that energy went, because then Evan started treating me however he wanted to and pretty much treating me like scum on the bottom of his shoe. Like Evan would always call me a bitch, and Allie wouldn't say shit about it because if she said something about it, whew, he was going at her like she just like threw his PlayStation in the river. And then Evan would also take it upon himself to step in if Drake and I were arguing. He would be like, you need to leave him alone before he fucking leaves you. Like he should have done a while ago. I know if I were him, I would have fucking left you already, kicked you to the curb. And anytime that I would try to stick up for myself or defend myself because nobody else was sticking up for me and defending me, he would be like, Drake, get this bitch the fuck out of my house right now, or else we're gonna have fucking problems because I'm not gonna be disrespected in my house. Children are supposed to be seen, not heard. Sir, children shouldn't be dating, let alone even hanging out with men that are like 8 years older than them. But here we are. So yeah, at first our relationship was amazing. Then it started to get rocky. And then whenever I turned 16, that's whenever shit went to hell. Yeah, Drake just started being really weird. Every time that he would pick me up after school, he would be like, I don't even know why you want to go to school. Like, when I was your age, I didn't want to go to school. You should just do online, you know, like, I'll do it for you. I don't want you to have to go to this place every fucking day. It's like a prison. I'm not gonna lie, I low-key had a glow up since I turned 16, okay? Like, one, I lost some weight. I was thinner in the face, thinner overall. I started taking care of myself more. I started doing my hair every day. I started doing my makeup. I would do my nails. And I had an inkling that that was the reason why he didn't want me to go to school anymore, because he didn't want there to be any competition, which was annoying as fuck. Because can I just say something real quick, okay? Like, I don't think guys get that whenever we're in a relationship with them, we only find them attractive. Like nobody else. It's fucking weird. Like you could literally put Channing Tatum in front of me and I'd be like, okay, he's a fucking 5, my boyfriend's a 10. Next. Like, I don't know if it's like that for anybody else, but for me, that's how my brain works and I hate it. But I mean, eventually my brain started, you know, coming back to reality whenever he started acting like this. And at that point, I also really didn't want to spend any time with him anymore. And everything and anything he would do or say would literally get under my skin and make me literally just want to put him in a fucking box and throw it away because he was so annoying. Because finally, I'm doing all these good things with my life and I'm actually starting to feel normal, and he wants to make it all about him. Because here's the thing. I knew that it was not fucking normal that I started drinking and smoking at the age of 10 years old. I knew it wasn't fucking normal. Not to mention hanging out with adults, literal adults, every day. I mean, sadly, there was literally nothing else for me to do since I wasn't in any of my after school activities, like I said before. And any of the kids that I could hang out with, or the kids who wanted to hang out with me, smoke and drank at the age of 10. And like I said, my school friends were school friends because also if you were from an area where I was at, you were considered a bad kid. So anyways, you know, like I said, I knew all that shit wasn't normal. So I started to feel normal whenever I got a job. And whenever I was like a toddler till my grandma passed away, I was in gymnastics. Surprisingly, I always kept up with my stretching and stuff like that because whenever I would be home, there was nothing else for me to fucking do but entertain myself. But anyways, I was still able to move like I used to, so what did I do? I tried out for the cheer team, which is where I also started making friends that were not bad influences. But there goes Drake, making it all about him. He didn't like that I had a job because he was supposed to be the man and he should work and he can get me everything that I need, which I find fucking hilarious because just the other day he was complaining about how he can't afford to keep paying for me to get my nails done. So I told him that. I was like, well, you were just complaining about the other day how you had to pay for my food and you had to pay for my nails, and so I decided to get a job to help you out and, you know, lift that weight off of your shoulders. Well, then he finally decides to tell me what's actually on his mind. He's like, well, you're just becoming so independent. I'm just afraid that you won't need me soon, which was true because I was literally turning my whole life around. Like, I told Drake that we couldn't hang out at his house anymore because I was done being treated like a piece of shit by Evan and not having him stick up for me, because eventually whenever I would try to stick up for myself, both him and Drake would start coming at me. So that was that. And then one of my girlfriends from cheer, her dad was teaching her how to drive, and since obviously my parents weren't going to teach me how to drive and I low-key didn't feel safe being in a car with them in general, especially with them behind the wheel, I asked if I could tag along and if maybe he could teach me how to drive too, and he did, which was really nice. But even after this, Drake was super upset and being a crybaby because he wanted to teach me how to drive. Like, dude, you're like 20 something years old, grow up. And him and I have been talking about him teaching me how to drive since we pretty much got together. But eventually I told him after I got my permit that the only way I would let him teach me how to drive, let alone me get in a car with him ever again, was if he could handle not drinking and not smoking a day before he drove or a day before I got in the car with him. Because Drake had not one DUI, but 3. One of them was while I was in the car with him. We were driving back home from the liquor store because our party ran out of alcohol. Low-key, we think someone stole the alcohol, but that's besides the point. We were both drunk and high because we literally had no plans of going out for the rest of the night. Well, you know, he's swerving around on the road and driving at night without his lights on. And I'm almost positive that somebody called the cops on us, okay? Rather than the police seeing us and, you know, just pulling us over, because there were no cops around us at all. Like, none. And I would know because I was in charge of being the lookout for the police, you know, to see if they were hiding in some little crevices in their little hiding spots. I mean, honestly, it's probably a good thing that somebody called the cops though, because we might have actually killed someone that night. But, you know, anyways, a cop flew down the highway with its lights on, got right behind us. Because, yeah, I forgot to mention that we were doing 80 and a 50. So, you know, Drake pulls over. So, you know, Drake slows down. He pulls over to the side of the road and the cop comes up to the car and he's like, sir, I'm gonna need you to put the car in park. Well, you know, Drake goes to put it in park. He really does. And I guess he thought he put it in park because he lifted his foot off the brake and the car starts moving. So then he goes to step on the brakes again and he accidentally slams on the gas. And then can you guess what happened next? We flew into a ditch and hit a tree. Actually, you know, I don't want to be like over dramatic, but it really wasn't a ditch. It was like just a really steep hill. So yeah, so you know, the airbags went off, broke my nose, broke my arm. He ended up getting a broken nose. All 4 of his front teeth were chipped, and I think he also broke his collarbone. I'm not sure, to be honest, but yeah, it was all sorts of fucked up. So hopefully you can understand why I would never ever get into a car with him ever again. That's also whenever my parents decided that maybe it wasn't a good idea that I was hanging out with him. And it wasn't because they finally decided to be good parents or anything, right? No, it was more the fact that because I had to go to the hospital, you know, since I had literally a collapsed nose and a broken arm, they got in trouble for not having insurance for me. So yeah, that was why. So one of my friends set up one of those GoFundMes for my surgeries and stuff because my nose was literally caved in like It was really bad. I had to be on like oxygen and shit for a while. Well, surprise, my GoFundMe went viral on Facebook, you know, because literally the picture was of me laying in the hospital bed, blood everywhere, you know, I'm like with tubes coming out my nose, shit like that. And the story that had been going around that she put on there was that I was kidnapped by some 22-year-old guy and I was only 14, da 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 da. But overall, the GoFundMe raised like over $75,000, which was well over what I needed for my surgeries. But for my like the reconstruction surgery for my nose, we were able to go to a really good doctor. And you know, while I was there, he was like, okay, you know, so I guess the one good thing to come out of all of this was now I have like a cute little fucking button nose. I mean, also the fact that nobody got hurt, you know, like deadly hurt, you know, died pretty much, you know, that's another good thing. But mainly the fact that I have a cute nose now. Anyway, so like I said, we were having all these relationship issues. And the thing about Drake and I was we were never the type of couple to be on and off, okay? Meaning we were not the type to break up every single fucking day over stupid shit and then get back together. Kudos to this girl, because I feel like everybody who has been in a toxic relationship has went through the phase of I'm breaking up with you because you did this, and then we get back together like an hour later and then the cycle just repeats itself. And I hadn't been over to his place in a while, you know, because I was respecting myself by not going over there and not letting people walk all over me. But the one night he asked me if I could come over and I could help him build this bed frame. So I went over there and I helped him, and him and I had talked about our future in the past, and before I was all for everything, you know, spending my life with him, having kids with him, everything. But that was back whenever, you know, he was actually being a good boyfriend. Yeah. And also whenever I thought that he was the only person that I could depend on, you know, because at that point I didn't know that I could depend on myself. Because now that I'm more independent, I don't really feel that way anymore, you know? But somehow him and I got into a conversation about our future and how he wants us to get married and he wants me to get pregnant as soon as I turn 18. As soon as I turn 18. And I was not okay with this at all, because I wanted to live my life. I finally understood at this point in my life that everything that I had done up until this point, I wasn't happy with. Not only that, but I wanted to go to college and get a degree for something that I'm passionate about. Whenever I'm turning 21, I want to be able to go out to the bar with my friends and not have to worry about a child or being a housewife, you know? So I told him that it wasn't fair. I was like, you had time to experience all of that. What about me? And also, not to mention, I want better for my kids than this. I want to be able to take them on vacations. I want to be able to have a big house for them, have a big yard, you know, give them good Christmases. Well, this turned into a massive fucking argument, because he was like, oh, so, you know, if we had kids, you would rather go out and party than take care of your own children. I'm not good enough for you. Why are you acting like I'm below you? Sorry to tell you, sweetheart, but you live in the same trailer park that I do. And I don't even know where half of this shit came from, because I literally explained it in a way where it did not come off as I was insulting him. You know, I wasn't just like, oh, I don't want to marry you or have kids with you because you're poor. Instead, I said, I think we both have a lot of growing to do before we should bring children into this world. I want to find a career and I want to be able to work to become successful, you know? I want you to be able to find a career. Again, he completely took it the wrong way. On purpose. I know that he's doing it on purpose this time, you know, instead of just like actually thinking that I'm being rude to him. He's like, I'm the man of the house. I should be the only one working.